Hey guys, before we get going, I want to go ahead and mention that your scores from the previous test are in PowerSchool, so I'll go ahead and take a look at those, and if you have questions, you can ask me at a later date, and we'll go over those if we haven't already. So our goal for this is going to be being able to kind of understand life skills today. So on this one, it says I can apply the great decision-making model, use refusal skills, set goals, communicate effectively, and evaluate media messages. So that applies a little bit more down the road. Today we're just going to kind of get an overview, but essentially towards the middle of our unit, those are some things that you would be expected to be able to know how to do. All right, just another reminder, the definition sheet for the new unit, there's one on Classroom, so you can take a look at that, add anything that is highlighted in blue. Typically in class, I'd have you guys split up. We come up with a list of things that we think are really important, specifically with regard to health. So if you think about the 6 components of health that we talked about already, physical, social, mental, emotional, spiritual, environmental, those things are what's going to be related to the life skills that we're doing. So I'm not really talking about being able to run a mile under 10 minutes, or I'm not talking about being able to balance a checkbook or understand a credit card. Those things are important in terms of life skills that you need, but more specifically with how you handle the components of those 6 areas in your own life. So first definition is life skills. So it's a tool for building a healthy life, and you can pause that if you need to write that down. And then I'm going to go ahead and list out the 10 that we're going to go through, and you're going to have an assignment that we're going to do with these 10. So the first is assessing your health, then communicate effectively, practice wellness, coping, being a wise consumer, evaluating media messages. These are the 6 ones that we're probably not going to focus too much on. On this, I'll go ahead and click on that, or if you want to, you can click on that. Those are actually Super Bowl ads, I think from 2013, that just kind of talk about, they don't really talk about anything, but I guess they really kind of aim that the goal is to get you to pay attention to them. And a lot of people don't realize that a 30-second commercial at the Super Bowl costs anywhere from $4 to $5 million now, and that was just a few years ago, so it could even be more now. Because they recognize that as the most televised and watched event in the entire year, and they want people to see their product, and they're willing to pay high dollar to get their information out there. And that is kind of some information there. There's a link on there that talks about how much money people spend throughout the year just on those advertisements that they get. All right, so jumping back into it, mention those that we have. So here are some ones that we're going to spend a little bit more time on. There's great decision-making model, refusal skills, being able to say no, setting goals, and then communicating effectively. So if we come back to our assessment at the end of this unit, these are going to be the ones that you're going to focus most of your attention on, but we will talk at least a little bit of length on the other ones as we're going through it. So the first one that we'll kind of discuss just for today is just assessing your health. So how do you know you're doing the right thing? And this really goes back into our first unit with regard to physical health. Your ability to understand where you're at currently is going to have an impact on where you want to go. So if I've got some sort of goal that I want to set for myself, and whether it's to lose weight, or the chances are obviously you figured out that there's something that you don't like in regards to what's going on right now. It could have to do with maybe a situation where you're not exercising as much as you want, or the type of food that you're eating you don't particularly like. So assessing where you're at right now is really, really an important thing to be able to do. Next is communicating effectively, and I won't spend a ton of time going into this, and there's actually some stuff not listed there that we're going to go through a little bit more in detail that's new that I'd like to spend some time on. But there's a couple different parts, really. There's speaking and listening, and speaking also includes social media posts, Twitter, Snapchat, anything that you might put out there to where you're communicating with somebody else. Practicing wellness, so earlier I mentioned assessing your health, but at the same time being able to practice wellness. So are you getting exercise? Are you avoiding risky behaviors that we talked about in our first unit? Are you eating the right kind of foods? Are you getting enough sleep? Chances are most of you in those cases may not be applying many of those or all of those the right way that we should. And then coping. Are you able to deal with problems effectively? So we mentioned emotional health is the ability to express your feelings in the right way. And this certainly has to do with this particular life skill of being able to cope with the problems that you handle on a day-to-day basis. And the reality is that down there at the bottom, so you want to know why people have problems, is that they have a really hard time coping with what they have going on in their life. We all have issues. It's just a matter of how are we handling that and expressing that. Being a wise consumer, so do we make good decisions in regards to specific things? You're going to get bombarded over the next however many years you're on this earth with health fads, things that can help you lose weight really fast. They have the almost too good to be true answer. And so, really being smart with that. And then just a note down there at the bottom, you actually have to take a class in high school in personal finance that really kind of tries to get us as a society to be more intelligent with how we spend money and to really take our finances seriously and really do a lot of research and do things like that. So this is certainly an important life skill. Evaluating media messages, so that goes back to those Super Bowl ads we talked about earlier. So who's the target group that the advertisement is for? Is it targeted at men, women, children, older people? What are they trying to get across? What are they trying to sell you? Is it too good to be true? How much research have you done on those things? So it kind of relates back to a little bit of wise consumer, but you being able to kind of evaluate that can probably give you some help as you're going through that process. And then using community resources, we all do this, whether or not we realize it or not. If you've ever checked out a book from a library, you have used a community resource. If you've ever gone to a park and gone to a playground, shot hoops, gone to a community center, gone to a swimming pool, hiked on a trail, gone frisbee golfing in a local area, we've all used community resources, and those are there and paid for by taxes to promote wellness within our own lives and our families. Okay, so here we're getting into a few more of the ones that we will talk about a little bit. So communicating effectively. That one came up already, but this one's making great decisions, and GREAT is an acronym that has to do with the 5 things that I'm down here below, and we'll spend a little bit more time and detail as we go through that process in the next unit. So what kind of decisions are you making, and is there a certain process that you're going through? I don't expect people at the end of this unit to actually go through and when they're making a decision of whether or not to wear their tennis shoes or dress shoes to school, to actually go through that process one by one. But there are certainly things where if you slow down, that would be very beneficial for you to do that, whether it's picking a college or a certain career path, things like that. Using refusal skills, so being able to say no when something around you you really don't like, and so you don't want to do. But the problem is that all of us have done something that we knew was wrong, but we wanted to for whatever reason, selfish reason. And I want to point out down here this second slide, or the second point I had here, says the number one desire of a teenager, and it's really simple, is just to fit in. So, generally speaking, all of you in class have some sort of clothing item that you put on because you knew it was culturally acceptable within your own peer group or community. And you also have probably worn something before that somebody gave you a hard time about, and you may not have you may have decided to never wear it again, or only wear it around certain people for the simple fact of not fitting in. You don't want to do that. It's really important for us to make people laugh. Laughter is something that we feel that creates acceptance within us. The clothes that we wear, the way that we smell, the way we look, the way our hair is, the way our teeth is, whether or not we have marks on our face that are really bothersome, those are all internal things that we try to do to try to fit in. And sometimes, going back to the refusal skill, we're willing to do whatever it takes just to fit in, even if it means to alter our moral or ethical value. Now, I will say that if someone has has already played out scenarios and they've had a standard set where they're willing or not willing to do something, they have a much greater chance of not falling into that. They may suffer the consequence of not being a part of the group, so to speak, but at the same time they will have kept their moral standing intact and feel good about the decision that they've made. So another one that we're going to go through is goal setting. And there are going to be 6 S's that we talk about, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Going through that, there's a specific set of things that you should really take a look at when you're actually creating a goal. All right, so what resources are out there to help us with these? And we're going to actually go through an assignment here, and I'll explain how you're going to do that. So here's just some examples of places where you can find information on different things. We are going to use good old internet today to find some resources and see what's out there. So you've got an assignment here, and I'll just kind of I'm going to exit out of this so you can kind of see. You're going to go to Classroom, and I don't have it in here yet, but you'll see it on yours. So there's a Lifeskills assignment, and what it will be, it will open up a, it'll actually have a Google Slides, and this is it right here. And you're going to go through, and so you're going to have something selected for you, and actually there'll be another sheet in here. I'm just looking up for it. So there'll be 2 things in here. The first one is a link here with your name that's down here below, so it's already on here. And whether or not this is your class or not, your name will be here underneath one of these life skills. So these 3 people, for example, have accessing their health. These 3 people have communicating effectively, and so on. There may be a group that only has 2. You're still working individually, so you're not actually working with these people that are down here below. But once you know what your life skill is, so for example, if I have assessing my health, I'm going to go back over to this life skill, and I'm going to start filling out this PowerPoint slide and answering questions that it has on here individually for me. So back over here on this sheet at the top, it actually gives instructions for what you're going to be doing. You're going to need to find 3 different links about your topic. So I mentioned earlier about assessing your health, but if my topic is coping, then back over here on the life skills, the reason that's important is I'm going to include links that have information on that. So I've already looked one up on coping. So here's my website, and on this it kind of talks about some things about asking people how they're dealing with it, how you can reach out for help, and give some suggestions. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the URL address up here. For those of you that don't know the shortcut, Control-C is copy. And I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to highlight where it says link 1. And then I'm going to go up here to top, and then right in here it's actually going to be an insert link. So I'll click on that, and then Control-V is the paste shortcut, hit apply. And so then when I go back to actually do this, I can click on it, and it will open up that exact same website. So there it is. So if you would go through and do those, go through and answer the questions the best you can. Should take you most of the class. You can certainly talk to other people in your class to see what they're using in terms of resources when it comes to where your name is on that sheet. You can take a look at that. That should take us right up to the end of this particular unit. There's a couple other slides that I think on my PowerPoint here that have some other information, but I don't think it's anything that is necessary for you to look at right now, and then we'll get into that next time when I see you. So if you have questions, feel free to email me.